Hey guys, what's up? My name's Anthony. Welcome to another edition of BNA Sports Talk. And today, what I'm doing is doing my reflection on my season predictions. And so let's get right into it. I had let's start with the AFC. So I had the Buffalo Bills at 9-7. They were 13-3. My concern was the growth of Josh Allen. He proved it. He really did prove it. And I thought that the defense would take a step back. They did, but Josh Allen was just so great. They was able to outscore a bunch of teams. They should have went 14-2 or 15, even 15-1 this year if they weren't screwed over by the COVID situation. Good job by then. I had the Patriots at 8-8. They went 7-9. I said, guys, calm down about Cam Newton. This roster isn't talented. And you think Cam Newton really going to lift everyone up? I know the genius of Bill Belichick, but they really just didn't have any talent to get it done. I had Miami at 6-10. They finished off 10-6. I thought they didn't have a lot of talent, but Ryan Flores really stepped it up this year as a coach. A little bit, we'll talk more about the Brian Fitzpatrick Tua situation. I think I'm going to have separate videos dedicated to just Miami and talking about how they deal with their QB situation. But 10-6, impressive stuff. Even with cornerback play by Byron Jones, that wasn't stellar. Then I had the Jets at 4-12. They finished 2-14. Obviously, had won 2 out of their last 3 games. And, I knew the Jets would be bad. Initially, I thought they could be a playoff team. Then I kind of looked at their roster more and more. I'm like, do I trust Adam Gase? No. So I decided not to have them high. I changed Baltimore from a 11-5 team. And my final prediction, I had them 14-2. They would have been 14 and probably 13-3 if it wasn't for the whole COVID situation. They really lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think the Titans, that was legitimate. But other than that, I mean, they were solid throughout the entire year. I just think that their running game is beastly and good for them. So next, I had the Browns at 10-6 or 9-7, I forget. But it was either one of those two. They finished off 10-6. I didn't trust the Browns. I'm like, Kevin Stefanski, he's running a completely new team, COVID, all those things. But I'm like, the Browns have to be a better team this year, right? They can't be 8-8, 7-9 again. I was right about that. And I had them in the playoffs. Next, I had the Steelers at 8-8. Obviously, I'm completely wrong about that. They went 13-3. They were 11-0 at one point. And their struggles kind of proved me right towards the end of the season. But Big Ben, he played good enough. He had those wide receivers. I didn't trust their offensive line to block for Big Ben because I thought, all those guys are getting older. And you saw really how fatigue kind of waned on their season towards the end. Cincinnati, I had them at 4-12. They would have been 14. No, they would have been 4-12 if it wasn't for the Eagles being stupid. That was the reason for their tie. And then for the AFC South, I had the Titans at 11-5. Guess what they finished off at? 11-5. By the skin of their teeth. I'm like, are they going to go 9-7 again? They didn't. Ryan Tannehill, another solid season. I had him in my top 10 quarterbacks. I was right about that. Colts, I had at 9-7 and missing the playoffs barely. Had them at an 8 seed. And they made it. They made it. If Miami would have won, I don't think would have made it. So that's impressive stuff. I mean, Phillip Rivers played, I think, better than expectations. We didn't expect him to be MVP. And all of a sudden, the quarterback plays bad. It's like, isn't that what we kind of expected from him? I think 24 touchdowns on the season, but just kind of making dumb mistakes throughout. The Texans, I had at 9-7. I thought, Bill O'Brien kind of fitting his team, but I had a feeling that it's either they're barely going to squeeze into the playoffs or they're going to completely bust. The completely bust thing happened. I said 2 years ago, I'm like, Bill O'Brien is like Chip Kelly, and it ended up being true. You can't be GM unless you're Bill Belichick, and even then, we see the struggles with the Patriots. People they didn't have any talent. Well, there's a reason why they didn't have a lot of talent. It wasn't just because of the opt-outs. It's because Bill Belichick didn't really put this team together for the long term. They went for Super Bowls. And then I had the Jaguars at 2-14. They finished 1-15, one shy of my expectation. How could you, Jags? They won the first game and then they lost the rest of the season. Not much to comment about that. We could speak intelligently about the Jaguars, but nobody wants to hear that. And then for the AFC West, I had the Chiefs at 12-4. They were 14-2, kind of tanked that last game. They should have finished 15-1. Good season, but they kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Cruised at some points in the season. They're just a good overall team. I don't trust Patrick Mahomes' health going into the postseason. We'll discuss playoff predictions then, but I have Patrick Mahomes as my MVP. I had Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my offensive rookie of the year. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire was playing well, but he obviously wasn't that good. And then the defense, just average, and they didn't have that late season push that a lot of people were expecting. Maybe changes are on the way for that defensive front. Frank Clark, though, is playing pretty well. Chris Jones, did he get injured? Like, I haven't really heard much from him. But, yeah, so next, the San Francisco Chargers, or San Diego, or Los Angeles Chargers, that's the word I'm looking for. I had them at 6-10, I believe, or somewhere on there. I have it on screen. But I had them at 6-10. They finished 7-9, so right about where I predicted them. If they would have lost to the Broncos, I would have got both records right, I believe, because I think I had them both at 6-10. I'm like, the Broncos, the hype, I'm not really believing it. A lot of young rookie receivers, new offensive coordinator. Obviously, defense got injured. But Vic Fangio, you don't really win with defense in this league. You don't really win a bunch of games. Offense wins games. Defense wins championships. And, yeah, that's kind of my thought about that. The Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, I had them at 7-9. They outperformed that at 8-8. At the last second, I had them squeaking into the playoffs in the beginning, but I didn't trust John Gruden. I didn't trust the defense. And it turned out to be right. And then let's move on to the NFC. I had the Washington football team went to win the division at 6-10. They finished 7-9. Same thing with the Giants. I had them 6-10. They finished 6-10. So right about there. What I was wrong about was the Dallas and the Eagles. I had the Eagles, I think, in my final prediction at 7-9. And they finished 4-11-1. Should have been 5-10-1, or if it should have been 6-10. If the Bengals tanking theory. I thought Dallas Cowboys in the beginning of the season, and like the very beginning, one of my hot takes was Dallas Cowboys are finishing 5-11. No joke. I had that written down. I'm like, oh, they ended up doing that, but obviously that wouldn't have happened without Dak Prescott. And even then, like, Dak threw for a lot of yards, but wasn't really translating to wins. They should have lost against the Falcons. There should be a 4-12 team. And the people were like, oh, Mike McCarthy is a good coach. Really? My dad's like, oh, don't trust me. He's a good coach. Good coaches don't go 4-12. Good coaches do not go. Even Joe Judge went 6-10 in this season with a rookie, a second year quarterback under a new offensive coordinator. That just doesn't happen with good coaching. And then that's pretty much it for the division. And then you go for the NFC. Let's go to the North. Let's do the Packers. I had them at 10-6. I said Aaron Rodgers would take a big step back. He didn't. Good for them. Then I had kind of like everyone filling in from there. I had none of them making the playoffs. I had Lions at 7-9, Vikings and Bears at 8-8. Bears I nailed completely. Vikings, I was like, I trust Zimmer, but I'm like, he has 12 defensive rookies on this team. You think that they're going to play well? You think, and even when they traded up for Yannick Ngakoue, they still struggled with him. Trey Wayne's gone. Xavier Rhodes, even though he isn't playing well, gone. I think a lot of opt-outs as well, and a lot of injuries towards the beginning of the season. But this is just a depleted roster. And then you had Justin Jefferson, a rookie, who ended up playing really well, and the team still only went 7-9. The Lions, I had them as just a dark horse playoff team last year, and then I learned from my mistakes. I learned that Matt Patricia, don't trust him. Defense played worse when he was gone. But this is a defensive mind. You have to have them top 15. Who on their defense are you keeping? Romeo Okwara is a free agent. Trey Flowers, and it's just not a lot of talent on this. I mean, even Jeff Okudah, like, come on, I don't get it. And then let's do this South, the NFC South. You have the Saints. I had them at 11-5. They finished off 13-3. Finished off strong. Drew Brees coming back. They did well without him again, but you realize that I said that they're going to probably go on a Peyton Manning run. They were my Super Bowl pick. It was them and the Ravens. So let's see what they do over there. And then you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 11-5. Had them at 9-7. Thought they would, struggle a little bit. They did. It was kind of like a Tristan Wirfs hate. I liked Antoine Winfield, but I think their secondary really started struggling towards the end of the year. Especially their defense just kept on letting up a lot of points. They got Steve McClendon. He didn't really make a lot of noise. Jason Pierre-Paul. I think this defense steps up in the postseason. I have just a feeling that this team is going to have a little bit of a spark. Devin White most likely won't be in the playoff game, so that's something to think about. But Tom Brady exceeded my expectations. I had him at, I think, 32. I had him at like 32 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. He added 8 touchdowns to what I thought, and he, got 4 fewer interceptions than I thought he would. But, he had a lot of weapons, and he had a lot of time as well. Just not a lot of help in the interior. And then the Panthers exceeded my expectations. I had them at 3-13. They went 5-11. But I didn't touch Teddy Bridgewater. And Joe Brady tried to do the best job, but you saw even after the injury, him not doing well, and plus a lot of defensive rookies. I didn't follow my theory. Offense wins games. They won a couple games from their offense. And, some impressive rookies, though. Jeremy Chin and, those guys. And then I had who was the other team? The Falcons at 7-9. But as the season started, I recorded a video saying, I feel like something has to give with this team. They're either going to go 4-12 or they're going to make the playoffs. I'm like, you can't just have another 7-9 season. And the latter happened, or the former. I don't know which one I said first. They went 4-12, and I didn't think Matt Ryan played awful, but there's a little bit more you want. But you got to ride him out for the next couple of years, and then. For the West, I think it's the last division. This is the one I got wrong. I said the San Francisco 49ers would dominate at 10-6. I pulled off the Cardinals at the last second, but saw them making the playoffs. And then I had the Rams making the playoffs as well at 9-7. They finished off, I think, 10-6. And then you had the Seahawks. I had them 8-8. They were impressive, and They had an up and down season. The offense was working and the defense was working, and they weren't too sure what was happening. Injuries to running back, but not really corner help. We all know what kind of happened with them, and those were my predictions going into the season. Again, Patrick Mahomes MVP. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think about my predictions, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.